vinyl fans, we're back up here in the Vinyl Attic where we're doing our 100 albums that matter. 100 albums that matter to me, at least, that I think should be in your collection if you're a vinyl junkie like I am, and talking a little bit about why those albums matter. We are finally talking about Linda Ronstadt. Linda Ronstadt, who's had such a big chunk of my life. There was a point where my wall was covered in Linda Ronstadt posters, and I was camping out to see her in concert, and she's just an amazing talent. And it's been really difficult to figure out which Linda Ronstadt album to talk about. My initial inclination was to talk about 1976 Hasten Down the Wind as a kind of perfect album in terms of performance, song selection, depth of emotion. If you've seen my video for top 10 breakup songs, you know that I had Lose Again from Hasten Down the Wind at my number one spot. It is the most gut-wrenching love lost song, at least in my mind, and maybe it's because I've lived it a few times. That's a great record, done with a lot of songs from Carla Bonoff, and she does some reggae on that record, and that's a great one. But the record I'm picking, we're trying to pick ones that aren't the obvious one, but this is one there's a lot of consensus on. A lot of people have this in their greatest albums of all time list. I want to talk about it for a specific reason, and it's the 1974 release on Capitol, Heart Like a Wheel. This is her last album for Capitol, and she was already on Asylum Records at the time. She had released an album on Asylum, and she would stay there for years. But Heart Like a Wheel, we have to talk about this record for a couple reasons. It comes after her 1973 album Don't Cry Now, which is her first album on Asylum. She had, gone solo. She was a part of the Stone Ponies and started making these kind of cruncherish solo records, including with a backup band that would later become the Eagles, and really finding her voice out of the barefoot country genre. And this record, one of the reasons this record is so great, it's really about breaking boundaries. And a lot of the records we talk about on this program are about records that sort of break out of the box. So this album is produced by Peter Asher. So Peter Asher, for those of you who don't know, was a member of Peter and Gordon, who were part of the original Britpop British invasion in the 1960s. Had songs written by Paul McCartney. Paul was dating Peter Asher's sister, Jane. When the Beatles formed Apple, they hired Peter Asher as their A&R guy. One of the people he signed was a young American folk singer named James Taylor, and put out their very first record. And was told by another singer, you need to check out this singer from Arizona who's hanging out in Malibu named Linda Ronstadt. And he was just blown away by her talent, by her range, by kind of the simplicity of her presentation, and became her manager and producer. And he produced this album. He's produced many great records over the years, but this was really the beginning of Peter Asher, the producer. And so this record comes out in November 1974, almost 50 years ago, and dominates the charts in both the pop charts and the country charts, as well as adult contemporary. It's kind of like it kind of could go anywhere. The album was number one. The single You're No Good was number one, and it was nominated for multiple Grammys, and was really the moment where this young woman with this incredible talent finds where her voice fits and finds the pure expression of her voice paired up with a brilliant producer. And then, for the next 10 years, there's sort of nobody that rivals Linda Ronstadt when it comes to chops, when it comes to singing. She's going from country to pop to new wave to Pirates of Penzance and operetta. I mean, she's really kind of become this megastar, and she's still with us. She doesn't sing anymore. She can't sing, but we're glad that she's on Earth, and because she's brought so much joy. But one of the things I wanted to talk about on this record is the range of music. The range of music. And so Linda Ronstadt is not a songwriter. She's written a few little things here and there. But she's a vocalist. She's a song stylist. She is the master of taking a song and as they would say on, all your favorite singing competition shows, making it her own. She literally would take these songs, and then they're not associated with anybody else but her. So what I do is go. Oh, by the way, I've seen Linda in concert a few times. The first time was in 1977 on the Simple Minds tour. Simple Dreams tour. Simple Minds is another tour. Simple Dreams. This is the T-shirt that I got at the age of 13. Seeing Linda Ronstadt. My mother took me to the show, and I'm still wearing it. Fits a little differently now, but this is the concert T-shirt from the Simple Dreams tour at the Lana Civic Center that I saw when she played on the Living in the USA tour. Maybe 1979. I camped out for tickets and had second row center at the Omni. That was pretty great to be so close to Linda. And then when her book came out a few years ago, her autobiography, she did a appearance, not a reading, but an appearance to talk about her book at Powell's in Beaverton. And it was a crowd of people, and I sat at her feet. I sat at the foot of Linda Ronstadt, and she's just right there. And I wanted to be like, you were all over my wall when I was 13 years old, and I'm in the room with you. It was so exciting. We just love her so much. But one of the things I wanted to talk about on this record really briefly is just the range of music. I don't do this on any other records, but I wanted to go through track by track and kind of talk about where these songs came from that then got turned into Linda Ronstadt songs. So the first track on that record is probably the most famous, You're No Good. That song had bounced around a bit, but was made famous by a soul singer, Betty Everett, in 1963. The next track is It Doesn't Matter Anymore by Paul Anka. And Paul Anka, was like a teen star in the late 50s, early 60s. And then, in the 70s, he was the I'm having my baby guy. I mean, Paul Anka wrote My Way. Paul Anka is a great songwriter, but he's not someone who's hip would normally go to look for a song. Next is Faithless Love by her boyfriend J.D. Souther, who just died 2 weeks ago on September 17th. J.D. Souther was a great kind of Southern California songwriter. That song is there are all these heartbreak songs. The Dark End of the Street is the next one, the James Carr soul song. Another soul song, right? She's going out of the country genre into the soul genre. And then the title track at the end of side one is Heart Like a Wheel by Anna McGargle from the McGargle Sisters, a Canadian folk group. And the instrumentation on that is so brilliant. The way that Peter Asher brings in the strings, it's just soul crushing. These songs can be so tender and so strong and so raw at the same time. Then we flip over to side two. Side two starts off great with When Will I Be Loved, the Everly Brothers classic. This was on the radio so much when I was a kid. Her version of When Will I Be Loved. And then this for many people, this is the peak of Linda-ness. Linda doing Willin' by Little Feat. The Little Feat, Lowell George's band. The greatest song about trucking ever. It mentions more songs of towns that you had never been to. As someone who lives on the West, I've been to some of those towns in Nevada. Such a great song. Weed, Whites, and Wine. Driven on the back road so I wouldn't get weighed. I mean, if you know anybody who's a trucker, this song has to be their anthem. Then we go to Hank Williams. I Can't Help It If I'm Still in Love with You. With an incredible harmony from her friend Emmylou Harris. Hank Williams, you got to bring Hank Williams to the present. The next song is Keep Me From Blown Away, which was recorded by the Seldom Scene, who are a great bluegrass band. And then the last song on the album, You Can Close Your Eyes, from James Taylor. James Taylor, again, this is from Peter Asher's stable. On it is Glenn Frey, Don Henley, and Timothy B. Schmidt, also known as the Eagles, singing on it. This song is one of my favorite songs. And when Cozy was a baby, this is the song I would sing to her to sing her to sleep, which is kind of scary if you know how I sing. Brilliant song, and Linda and the Eagles. And then very shortly after this, the Eagles went on to, be one of the biggest bands in the universe. But I mentioned this sort of list because these songs are coming from all over the place. On her next album, Prisoner in Disguise, which had the great songs like Heat Wave and her version of Neil Young's Love is a Rose, she's doing Jimmy Cliff. She's mining sort of the reggae field for songs. And this just is a reflection of someone who knows her voice and can go in any direction. It doesn't have to stay here. Like, I'm a country artist, I got to do country songs. It can go in any directions: classic rock, country, bluegrass, R&B, blues, and find a song and interpret, and then, really, really put her stamp on it. And this kind of really starts with Heart Like a Wheel. This record is, is one that there are legions of fans who would sort of live and die by this album. And it is, if you want a good female vocalist record in your collection, there's a million things to pick from. This is probably the best. I'm just gonna say it. This record, unless you want to go Aretha Franklin, who we've talked about, this is kind of the best. This is the kind of best multi-genre. Whenever I hear a young female singer coming up, I think, look to Linda Ronstadt. Look at how she looks for songs. Look how she steps out of her genre to find songs to bring in. And don't be afraid to go to places like reggae or classic rock or bluegrass or other places to find a really good song that expresses something that you feel you can express sincerely and real. And it doesn't happen very often, right? Everybody's sort of stuck in their lane. She broke through the lanes. And then later, she's singing mariachi songs. I mean, there's just no boundaries for this woman. She's just so incredibly talented. But this is the one that did it. This is the one that sort of broke the mold of what a female singer or any singer should be doing in their craft, which is finding the great songs and owning them. All right, I wanted to talk about this record. Well, we're going to stick with females for our next album in our 100 count through. We're going to talk about the Go-Go's. We need to talk about the Go-Go's. The Go-Go's need to get some damn respect up in here. The Go-Go's are important, so we're going to talk about the Go-Go's. But in the meantime, this record, I played this record so much. More than a pretty face, right? Her voice was just really, really resonant. This artist matters. We're so glad she's still with us. This album matters. You matter. So let's talk about it.